Hello everyone, welcome back to the Data Journey YouTube channel. We'll continue here with our R introduction series. This time, in this video, we are going to speak about arrays. If you haven't seen the rest of this playlist, you have all the videos on the left or right side. Don't recall which one, but you have the playlists on YouTube. And you can check the rest of the videos of this series if you are starting to learn R. If you are enjoying this series of videos, feel free to subscribe to the Data Journey YouTube channel. Also, add me on LinkedIn and tell me about the type of content that you would like to see and watch on this channel. I'll be super happy to understand how I can add more value to the community. Today we are going to speak about R arrays. We've seen vectors, we've seen data types, and really how to work with R on a basic setting. And here today we are going to speak a bit about how R arrays work. So R arrays are multidimensional objects. The vector is a one-dimensional object, as we've seen, and can hold several elements. But the array is a multidimensional object that can contain multiple dimensions. Let's see what we mean by it. So first I'm going to call here my array, and I'm going to start with the array function. This array function basically creates a new array in R. And here I'm going to use the 1, 2, 4 syntax. So basically 1:4 that gives us the ability to create an array from elements 1 to 4. But now I can give something extra, which is the dimensions of this array. And what I'm going to do is give a vector here inside these dimensions, because I can pass a vector to this dim property with the configuration of my array. And I want a 2 by 2 array, 2 rows by 2 columns, and I can give that here via this command. So 2 by 2 will create this array. Let's run this code here in R. If you are having trouble understanding how am I running this code, how is this code being executed, feel free to return to the beginning of this series where I explain this more thoroughly. So there you go. Here we have the my array. Let's click it and see it here on the viewer. So we have the 2 by 2 array that I've described, which is also called the matrix. So two-dimensional arrays in R are also called matrices. This is a nuance that it's sometimes confusing when you are starting. So the rows, or the way that the data entered my array, was by column. So you see that 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me return to the script. And instead of using this syntax that may be a bit confusing, I'm going to pass a vector with elements 1, 2, 3, 4. This is exactly the same as I've done before, but just another syntax. Let's rerun this, and as you can see now, if I go here to my array, we'll have exactly the same. Okay? So, cool. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have these elements that are a matrix. Super cool. Now, let's imagine that I would like to do an array with 3 dimensions, and this is when arrays start to become a bit confusing. So, if I pass, for example, another 2, I would say that I want 2 elements on this third dimension. In R's case, this third dimension is the number of matrices. So if I run it, my array is now a 3-dimensional array. So it contains not only rows and columns, but also different tables or different matrices. Let's view it. We can't, because it's no longer a table. It's no longer a 2D format that fits in nicely with our viewer. Now we need to check our array on the console. Let's go here, see that. So my array, there you go. Now what we have is basically 1, 2, 3, 4 and an extra matrix with 1, 2, 3, 4. But now we have 2 matrices side by side. Just because I want to access different elements of this 3D array, I'm going to add here 5, 6, 7, 8. So that the elements on my matrix will be different. So let's go here. So now my first matrix is 1, 2, 3, 4. And my second matrix is 5, 6, 7, 8. So when you are doing data analysis here in R, and if you are using R mainly for data analysis, the 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional arrays are probably something that you won't work with. we'll stick with the two-dimensional arrays that are more easy to understand. And also we'll go more deep into these types of objects when we go to matrices and study a bit about matrices. Okay, so we have our myArray. Again, it's a three-dimensional array. How do we see that? It's the number of elements that we have on the dim argument. So 1, 2, 3. And now we have two elements in every dimension. 2 rows, 2 columns, and 2 matrices. Okay? If I change this, the third dimension, to 3, can you guess what will happen on our myArray? Let's run it and pause the video for a minute and see if you can guess before checking the object on the console. So if I go here, myArray, so now we have, of course, 3 dimensions. And notice that something weird happens, but it happens in R, which is element recycling. So when R got to the last element, 8, it recycled the array and went back to the 1. So it started in the third matrix by going back to the element 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Let's just keep the 2 on the third dimension. So now it's time for the fun part. Let's see how we can index arrays, because this is sometimes a bit confusing. So indexing is done, again, using these square brackets. And here what we can do is basically select elements from the different dimensions. Remember that we couldn't use in vectors commas to select different dimensions. Here in arrays we are able to do it. For example, I want to just tackle the first matrix that we have right here. So what I can do is do the following. So comma, comma, 1. Let me explain. When we leave something blank in these indexes, means we are selecting everything from that dimension. And here, on the first dimension, rows, we are selecting all rows. In the second, we are also leaving it blank, so we are selecting all columns. But in the third element that we see here, we have a 1, right? But in the third element, so after the second comma, third dimension, we have a 1. This means that we only want the first matrix. And let's run this. And as you can see, this is the return, or the exact return from the instruction. We selected only the third matrix from our array. We can pinpoint some elements in our object. For example, if I want to get this element with number 4, I would have to select the second column and second row. And I can do it by going here, row dimension is 2, column dimension is also 2. And now if I run it, I have 4 in the return. Can you guess what will happen if I remove this element in the indexer? If you can guess it before running the code. What will happen is that we'll have the 2 columns for the second row. So running it, we have 2 and 4, because we've left this element as blank in our indexer. And in this case, R just returned 2 and 4. Okay, so using this we can also modify elements in our arrays. Let's select, let me check here my array, and I would like to substitute this 5 by 100. So what we can do is index the 5 first. This is a general pattern in R. If you want to change elements, you just need to index them and change them by something. And here what we would like to get to the 5 is to go for first row, first column of the second matrix, right? So let's see. First row, you can also use these elements that you see here to help you. First row, first column, second matrix. And if you see this one, it's a 5. Now I can, for example, substitute this by 50 as an example. Let's run it, and now if I check my array, let's see, we have 50 on the element that we've changed. You can also do this for other elements that you would like. Okay, one cool thing, we can apply mathematical calculations to arrays as well, just like we've done with vectors. Let me apply a square root to my array, and as you can see, basically all elements in the array have a square root applied to them. And finally, let's imagine that we would have, for example, my array example, which is an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, and dim is equal to 2 by 2. Okay, so this my array example, 2 by 2 table, and what we can do here as well is go here and create another array. So I'm going to create another one with 5, 6, 7, 8. So basically 2 arrays. We have 5, 6, 7, 8. Now imagine I would like to combine these arrays. We can combine them in two ways, row bind or column bind. With row bind we have the handy function rbind, and we just have to pass the arrays we want to combine. Okay? There are some rules on this combination, something that you can check with more detail on my R programming book. Yes, it was randomly seated here near me. Of course, I don't know how it showed up here. It is obviously a coincidence. But if you would like to check more examples like this and want to learn R in a more profound way, you can order it on Amazon. The links are on the description, or also you can go through my Udemy course that I'll leave some link in the description as well. So let's imagine we would like to combine this myArray example with the other array. With an rbind, we basically stack the two arrays together. And as you can see, now we have a 4-row example, a 4-row array. And if you do cbind from column bind, you probably guess what will happen, right? We'll have 4 columns because the arrays are stacked side by side. In this case, these arrays are also matrices because they are 2-dimensional arrays. Hope this was a fun introduction to you on R arrays. Feel free to check the other videos of the playlist and also to check my other videos on data science and analytics on the Data Journey channel. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.